Welcome to Documentary First, an inside look at a first-time filmmaker's journey. I am your host, Josh Lindsay from the Movie Proposal Podcast. And with us is our first-time filmmaker, Christian Taylor.
Hello there. How are you?
I'm good, Christian. How are you?
Good.
Good. And with us, as always, because we couldn't do it without him, the awesome, trusty-dusty research guy, Jason Rugg.
Hey there.
And we have a special guest again, surprise, all the way from the Chicagoland area, which is not far from us, is Sandy Gordon. Hello, Sandy.
Hello. Nice to see you.
And if you remember, Sandy is the Emmy award-winning filmmaker, producer, author, filmmaker extraordinaire, and we're going to dive into her brain some more this podcast. But before we do, we need a film update. Christian, what is going on with The Girl Who Wore Freedom?
Yeah, well, it's kind of been an exciting week. We started rolling out all the announcements for things that have been happening over the holidays. And if you haven't been watching our social media, you may have missed that we won honorable mention at the Mediterranean Film Festival Cannes, a film festival that did not happen, but we did get an award. So that was exciting. It's our first international award. And then we were accepted into 5 other film festivals. I think I have mentioned them here. The first one that's coming up is the Chandler Film Festival in Arizona. That's next week, the 21st through the 24th. And then shortly after that, we're at the Flathead Lake International Cinema Fest in Polson, Montana. And Hunter and I are both going to be there. So we're super excited about that. And then right when we get back from there on the 1st, the Scorpius Film Fest in Park City, Utah, right after Sundance ends. We have 1 day of streaming with that fest. And then we have the Beaufort one in South Carolina, which will be super fun. Hunter and I are driving to that. We'll be there for a week in Beaufort, South Carolina, right on the water. And then the last one that we know about is the Lake Michigan Film Fest. So that's super exciting. And then we found out we are a finalist in the Fiera Film Festival in Italy. Nobody knows about that, not even anybody on my team. That's like hot off the presses. And it's a really big deal because it's a big film festival in Italy. And if we do get accepted, it will be our first international acceptance. And it's a film festival that right now is, slated to happen. So that's been good. And then we've just been getting back into the swing of things of finalizing the sound mix in order to prep the film for, distribution that we have ahead of us, hopefully. And that involves Christian, Jason Hoban, and Jeff Kurtnacker and Bill Ebel all trying to get together to finalize this mix. And I think it's been the most challenging part of the film because we can't all be in the studio together. We're having to do it separately in our own spaces, and that's super hard to do. I think that we're going to have a big party on our 100th episode, which is coming up. I'm going to kind of tease that out. I think we're recording that on February 3rd. And I'm going to have all those guys back, and we're going to talk about finishing the final mix and what all that means. So we're going to have a big celebration party at our 100th episode. You're all invited.
Right.
So that's the update from me.
It's never over, is it, Christian? It never ends.
Just continues.
That's why you're thinking about making another film. That's the only way to make this one stop is to start another one, right?
Exactly. When I hear of producers like Dick Wolf, or I can list 100 other ones, Shonda Rhimes right now, who have 20 different things going on at once, my brain just melts down. Like, how the heck do they do that? I have no idea. Sandy, maybe you can tell us.
They have lots of helpers.
Right.
They have a budget.
That's true. And a budget.
Have money.
Yeah.
So, Sandy, welcome back. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I have fun with you all. And like I said before, it is hard to say no to Christian Taylor.
It is.
Well,
It is.
and I you teased us so much with your quirky little unknown information from your work from the past, I really bugged her to come back and bring some show and tell. So if you're only listening to this, you might want to pop on over to YouTube when you're done so you can see what Sandy has brought to share. And she's going to share some fun facts with us. So Sandy, we had mentioned, why don't you tell some of the projects that you initially worked in when you got into this business, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so early on in my career, a long time ago, I started in feature films, and so I was on the crew. I was a location scout, and it was a really fun time. I loved that stuff, but my paraphernalia is limited because I was working like 18 to 20-hour days, and but for first-time filmmakers, my paraphernalia might be interesting because I have all my old notebooks of like Rudy and the Hudsucker Epoxy and Mo Money and
Baby's Day Out.
And so I have for the fans out there, I have my Hudsucker Epoxy script, the original script that we used.
Oh, wow. So she's showing, just so you know, she's showing us.
So the way that it works, well, it's changing now because we're in a very tech savvy information age, and everyone is so protective now of people stealing the scripts and putting them out there to the public when you're trying to keep it under wraps, right? Especially if you're like DC or Marvel and you're trying to, not show the new Batman script or a Disney film. So it's much harder to come by an actual printed copy these days. You have to like sign away your life to see the script of the movie. And for some actors, they might just give you like the bit that you need to know. With my understanding, I haven't worked on a film recently, but my understanding is that like some of these have, they're barcoded or they're serial numbered or something, and you have to like sign for your copy, or you sign it out and you only get to read it and then bring it back. But in the old days, you got the full script printed out. We chopped down several trees to make these movies. So you would get a copy on white paper, and then anytime a change is made to a script that's been given out, you have to put an asterisk on the line that was changed so people know that there's a word that changed there. And then you also change the color of the paper that is printed on. So this is my final Rudy script, and you'll see, if you're able to see it on Zoom, it's or on YouTube, it's yellow. And then you'll notice that within the script, you'll see other colors like blue and pink. And the way that it works, and it's industry wide, again, this may be changing now that things are online, but when you're old school, there's actually like a key that tells you all the colors of the paper, and you would have to go in that order. So that like it goes yellow and then blue and pink, and once you get past there, you get into like salmon, and you get into like the more interesting color names. But when you do that, how many changes have happened already to that page. So anyway, so that's what makes my artifacts interesting. But nowadays those things have changed a little bit. I thought you might enjoy it since you're fans.
Yes. And didn't you say that there's another coordinating color thing that goes along?
Yeah. So the other thing that I can share with you, it's also something that now is computerized, and I have many of those on computer that I could share. But since you all responded to the Rudy Baby's Day Out era, I saved all of my call sheets. And a producers are all the paperwork people, right? But everybody on a crew needs to see the call sheet. And the call sheet is basically your schedule of what's going to happen on a particular shoot day. And so it depends on the size of your project. If you are working on something really short, like a 30-second commercial, your call sheet may be just as big as a feature film's first day if you have lots of extras and lots of special gear. Or you might just be like, or a better example might be Christian's film. If she's going to interview a veteran in their home, it might just be 2 camera people and a sound person and Christian. And so in that case, your call sheet could just be like an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. But when you're on a feature film, they tend to be longer. So I'm holding up a typical feature film slash weekly TV series call sheet where you have 100 crew people, and it's double-sided. Although this particular one is not. Usually they're oh, it is. It's double-sided, and it flips up because they usually, when you print it out, you have it on a clipboard or something, so you can like flip it over and see what you're trying to see. The front side of the call sheet, when it's a big call sheet and you need 2 pages, it starts with the top of it is the information about like the contact person for like me, the producer, cell phone number nowadays. And then you'd have like the closest hospital, like the things you need in an emergency where you don't have to search through the sheet to find it. You put at the top, you put the name, like the date of the shoot that this is referring to. And let's say you have a 6-day shoot. You would put day 1 of 6, day 2 of 6. So people are aware how far you are into the schedule with this. And then there's a section of the set. And this can vary on any call sheet, but the information is always the same. How it's laid out might be different, but you have a section of where the location is. So it's got the address, maybe it has the contact of the location, and it has what scene you're shooting there, what page number it's on, if there's any special equipment being used at that set. This particular one, it has 6 scenes. It has a column for the cast, and you would see that it's got numbers. It doesn't say Sean Astin, it'll say 1. So Sean, being the star, is 1. Jon Favreau might be 2. And then like maybe a smaller character might be 6. Like, so they all are numbered, and those numbers are consistent throughout the whole show, so that anytime you see those numbers, you know who needs to be there. And it also tells you if it's a day scene or a night scene. It might tell you if there's like any special location information, like you have to take a shuttle or something. And then as you get further down the sheet, it will tell you the call time. So the call sheet tells you the call time, which is what time do you have to be at work that day. So it'll list the separate time for every single solitary person, unless you just say everybody's call time. So a lot of times what people do is they'll put the general call time, like we expect 90% of the people, like the main call time is 9 a.m. and they'll put it at the top. And then there are some people, like when you say call times at 9, well, really the caterer is coming at 6 in the morning to set up their truck and get the food going. And the hair and makeup people are coming at 6 in the morning because the actors come in at 6:30. So you have to be ready. And then you're doing the hair and makeup and everyone's ready by the time the crew gets there at 9. So everybody has their different stages, but you kind of know like the general call time, what time that is. And then
It's got weather.
Sorry?
Weather is also
on the weather's on there, what they expect the weather to be. There might even be a contingency plan in case a storm is coming. So it's really literally anything you need to know. Is there special equipment that's needed for a specific scene?
Maps.
And props, special props. And then on the back page, if you have a big crew, for Rudy, obviously here you've got, or this one was Baby's Day Out. It's a lot of crew people, and it's showing their individual call time so that if they have a different time, what time they're coming. And then old school, we used to hand draw the maps. So I'll show you, this is Baby's Day Out. And it's a map in Chicago, probably going to Lincoln Park Zoo or something. And then somebody had to hand write the actual directions, this is not my handwriting because couldn't do that. I'm terrible with print. But thank God now you have computers for that. But this is one I'm holding up now from Rudy, because I know you guys are Rudy fans, but you can see I've got like a circle I drew for Notre Dame Stadium, and then I just have a line taking you like from St. Mary's to the stadium, or I think it was Extras Holding, was down the street. And then, it's like how to get to where you need to go. And then at the very bottom, I had to like give them physical directions of how to get there.
So that map, I have
Free
been
GPS.
that map would have been given out to the extras. And this was a fun fact about the extra scene in Rudy, where if you've watched Rudy, a lot of it and especially all the end scenes take place on this, Notre Dame's field. And it looks like the stadium is filled with people. So tell us how you guys did that, Sandy.
Oh, well, actually, that's kind of fun. So, sometimes we had an actual filled stadium and they were real football games. And so many stories. So the thing about it was this was in the early 90s and the film takes place in the 70s. So anytime that you saw someone on screen, they had to be dressed in 70s clothing with 70s hairstyles. And it's kind of like if today, and it's 2021, if you were to film a movie outside my building, but really everyone had to be in 80s clothes, you'd have to be asking like teenagers in 2021 to go like really frizz their hair out and perm it, and maybe they'd have to wear like neon clothes, which I guess is sort of making the comeback now anyway. But back then, asking a college student to wear 70s styles was like torture. They just were not interested. And, they don't know what this movie's going to turn into, right? They just hear that there's somebody needing you to look a certain way. But we had to deal with Notre Dame, and their cheerleaders were our cheerleaders. So we had hair and makeup for them, and they had to go through the whole rigmarole to look 70s, as did any extra in the movie. And they were not happy about that. But they're happy now because they're all over the movie. But back then, what we would do is we shot scenes with people walking into the stadium that if we did a close-up, we planted them, they were extras, and we shot that separately. But when you show the actual crowd in the stadium, if you see a whole wide shot, that is legitimately a game that Notre Dame was playing, and it was just blurry enough that you didn't see all the clothes that didn't really match. And then we came back in on a non-football day to do the close-ups, and what we would do is we had extras in one section that all had the right period of clothing on. We would shoot them going like, Rudy, Rudy, and then we would have them get up and move to another section and move into different places, and we would do that again. So we just kind of like use different extras and move them around and have them be in the background, because you're really focused on the close-up of the football players, and you just see people in the background. But the way we shot most of the football scenes were that the real game, when the real game would go to a timeout or there'd be a break, like the second they left the field, we'd run our actors onto the field, and we had told everyone in the stadium in advance that we're filming a movie. So please follow the cheers from the cheerleaders. And at some point we might ask you to yell like Rudy. They're like, okay, why? But we had basically, we would flip the scoreboard. Like at the point of the break, we had someone from the art department poised to change like the actual board looked 70s for that day. And I was in the score room, like the spot with the press box, and I would tell the guy what to change the score to. So we would change the score and the name of the teams, and then we'd have like 60 seconds to shoot the shot, and then be like, okay, get them off the field, and they'd rush off the field, and then the real team would come back on. So that's how we shot those scenes. It was really fun for me because I was just up in the score room the whole time.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because now, with so many different ways to replicate people in the stands, right. My guess is they're not doing those anymore, but it's so fascinating to hear like how it started back then, and how you handled things back then. Same with the call sheet. I mean, we didn't get to the call sheet color, you told me, coordinated with the script change color. So
well, it doesn't coordinate it in that, like, if you change a page of the script, you wouldn't then change the color of the call sheet. But if the call sheet changes after it went out, so like 9:00 at night last night, I send out tomorrow's call sheet, today's call sheet, tomorrow's call sheet, and then at 10:00, it changed, but all these people have it already. You'd change it to blue so that when you send it again, it's like, this is the right one to look at.
I see.
Yeah. That's the same concept with the script. Like, look at the one with the color.
Right. My question too is, I know now they have all of these fancy dancy script writing programs and, project management programs that help you make call sheets and things like that. So and so it's really done differently now.
Yeah, well, it is and it isn't, because the people who created that software created it out of the need to computerize, now that there were ways to do that, what they'd already been using, right? So you'll see, I haven't used it recently, but the last time I did, there's Movie Maker software, there's Showbiz Scheduling. And so these are made for filmmakers, and they still will reference the colors. Like if you're switching your script and now it's blue, I believe they still do that in the script software. And with scheduling, I'll see if I can flip through. There's I don't have one with me, but with scheduling, there's so many different ways you schedule. But when you schedule a big shoot, you have your day out of days schedule. So it's like day 1 out of 6. And so similar to the call sheet, but it's literally just a schedule that has line by line every scene you're shooting today, then a big black bar for your lunch break, then every scene you're shooting in the afternoon. And it correlates with, tells you what, where the location is, how many pages you're shooting that day, and the numbers of the actors that are in it. And when you used to do that old school, it was with literally strips of cardboard that somebody cut out, and you'd move this scene up here and that scene down here, almost like you're using a whiteboard, but you're using it's like a puzzle. You're moving the paper around. Now, when you use that software, it's still made like strips. You drag the strip to another place. So it actually looks just like it did when you were hand doing it. It's just that people who are younger and just starting in the industry don't know that history of how it came to be.
Yeah, and it's fascinating. You either learned this in school, because Sandy taught at Columbia College in Chicago, and then she's now at DePaul. You either learned that in a film program, or I learned it on a set, on several sets as I was working as an actor and then as a producer. So there is industry standard stuff out there. And like Sandy mentioned, there are programs that people are learning. And it is definitely the same, just, now it's technology and people do print it off, or it's on your phone. They'll send it electronically. It's just different.
Yeah. And so I would say, kind of driving it back to something like The Girl Who Wore Freedom, if you're talking about your first time filmmaking experience and you're going to go out and make a documentary, you still have a call sheet. You still need to let your crew know what time their call time is. And you're still keeping track of every prop and piece of equipment that needs to be there, and where it is, and where the nearest hospital is in case something goes wrong, and all that.
And the weather.
When you're a
Maps.
when you're a locations manager and you're in charge of these things on any kind of shoot, you're always checking the weather. And like we used to, I don't know how it's happening right now, but I used to have the phone number to the local branch of the National Weather Service. And we had like a contact that we could call at 2 PM. He'd be like, oh yeah, the rain should start hitting at 2:15. You have 14 minutes, So like we would just be on it if we knew a storm was rolling in, so that we could maximize our time before we had to move. You hopefully, if a storm is, it's going to rain on Wednesday, you'll plan not to shoot outside on Wednesday. But sometimes things come out of the blue and you're like, oh, the sky just changed. So you kind of have a person you can call up, say, should we be worried about this right now? I know there are apps for that now, like darksky.net can tell you down to the second when it's supposed to rain, but
Yeah.
Mother nature.
It's fascinating. So we had planned to talk about pitching and how you pitch your project. And I thought this might happen, that it would be interesting and we, would have questions and we might not get to the pitching. So we are going to have Sandy back, because the last thing is she has one fun fact and a quiz question for Jason Rugg. And we're going to do that. We only have about 4 minutes left. So Jason, you're going to have to think fast. So let's hear that quiz question, Sandy.
I should just say, but do you know who AC Cowlings is?
No.
Josh, do you?
No.
So Josh is about 10 years younger than I am.
Yeah.
So this really dates both of us.
Yeah. Well, so AC Cowlings was the driver of O.J. Simpson's Bronco during the famous chase.
Oh, wait, he knows who O.J. Simpson is. That's good.
You know who O.J. Simpson is, and there was a chase.
I've heard AC. I've heard OJ and AC, but I'd never made the connection of, okay, yeah.
So the reason that we brought it up.
Wait. I have one other question.
Okay.
What did OJ and AC, what did they do?
What do they have?
Well, so there was the mild murder, and then there was
mild murder.
Yeah, well, they didn't convict him. So.
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah, and there was stealing all the trophies. That's what I know.
What did they do before that?
What are they famous for?
Football players.
Football players, right? Okay, that's the tie-in. So.
Oh, no.
So I met AC Cowlings because he worked on Rudy.
Oh, wow.
He was the football coordinator for all of the football players on Rudy. So,
wow.
What's AC doing now these days?
I'm not sure.
You don't keep in touch with him?
He was in jail for a while. I will tell you that if you go to IMDb, you will see AC Cowlings there. He does have a credit for Rudy. And he of course, is in Wikipedia. And, as of 2018, he says, let's see, in 2016, according to TMZ, he had threatened to sue FX if he was portrayed negatively in the series The People of versus O.J. Simpson.
Oh, so he's dealing with the fallout from that.
Yeah, he is.
That's too bad.
So anyway, it sounds like they are still close friends, and they both struggle with chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, which is the So anyway, that's just an interesting little tidbit. AC Cowlings, in Rudy, you have people like Vince Vaughn, who were actor football players, actor extras, and Sean Astin, who played football, but they were doing that with actual real football players. And so AC Cowlings, she can't remember if he brought the football players in, but he certainly coordinated for them. And I thought that was fascinating.
Josh, did you have a question?
Oh, I was just curious if OJ had threatened to sue if he was portrayed in a negative light in that show.
Sure, he's doing when he can. I will say that when I was living in LA, that trial was happening, and sometime in the in-between, when he wasn't in jail but he had no money, I met some friends to go hiking, and they were laughing when they got to the park, because I guess he had parked his car at the bottom of the trail area, and he had just pulled up and opened his trunk and was just signing golf balls for anybody that wanted to pay him a few bucks. It's desperate times.
Wow.
So fascinating. Well, Sandy, thank you so much. I really appreciate the fun facts and teaching us a little bit about call sheets and scripts and locations and interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's fun. Once again, I feel like we didn't accomplish our mission, but we'll try.
We'll have you back.
That's absolutely. All right. Well, hey, thank you, Sandy. And thank you, listeners, for listening to Documentary First, where we believe everyone has a story to tell and you can be the one to tell it.
Yes, you can. Bye, everybody.